Well, here we are live and in living color. Man, I just want to welcome to all of our I Lead podcasts. I Lead podcasts, you said, well, you know what, Bishop? You're typically not on Facebook Live. You're always doing the podcast in another way. Decided to do it a little different. And as my guest on this, what was the inaugural, the initial, the premiere of me doing this is none other than Renita T. Alexander, right there, who is the guru of self leadership. And so, welcome, Renita. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I didn't realize this was the inaugural event like this. So I'm very honored that you would invite me to kick this off. And I'm doing well. I'm enjoying this beautiful sunshiny day right here in downtown Chicago.
Yeah, well, we're right here in Illinois. So whenever the moment I tell them, oh, Fallon, Illinois, they immediately think, well, you got to be in Chicago. No, there's another part of the state. Okay. So I know you rule the roost in Chicago, but we still there is another part of the state, and that is those of us who are outside the city limits of Chicago. I'm well
There you go.
south, 5 hours or
Well
so
said.
of that, right across the
Absolutely.
road from St. Louis. But welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
So now, to all our guests, I want to let it build a little bit before we get into it. The point of us getting together in this particular broadcast is really to talk about leadership in general, but particularly and specifically, we want to talk about self leadership. It is the stepchild of all leadership development skills. It's the one that no one wants to talk about. But we'll get more into that in a moment. So, again, I just want to welcome Pastor Richard. I see you. I know I just got a call from you. I was just about to go live, so I couldn't take it. I got you. Diane, how are you? I see you as well. Look, what I want to do though, what I want to do is I want to invite those of you who are watching right now. I want you to invite this to share it right now. Don't keep this to yourself because it's going to be some good information and sharing about how to lead better. How to lead better. So let's get right into it. Let's get right into it. I was saying it initially, and I'll repeat it. I believe that the most overlooked skill set with respect to leading, because typically when people start talking about leading, the first thing they begin to talk about how they're going to be successful, who are they going to lead, how are you going to cause them to be influenced, how are you going to get them to do what you want them to do, how can you get them to fall in line, on and on and on and on and on. Rarely, if ever, do we talk about self leadership. Am I right about it?
Absolutely. And you cannot lead someone else if you're not leading yourself well. I absolutely believe in that. And I start any of the training, any of the coaching I do always starts with leading yourself. I say leading yourself first. And that involves, a lot of things. It involves some discovery of who you are. It involves understanding where you want to be and then developing a plan to get there. I'm doing some alliteration, Pastor. I know, Bishop. I know you. I know you love that. I'm taking a play out of your playbook around the alliteration, but it's a part of my 60. Actually, I call it a 60 model that I use. But I'm just going to focus on the discovery, the design of a plan, and then the actual development for today during our conversation. But yeah, I
So,
absolutely
so
agree
the
with you.
discovery, give it to
Mhm.
me again.
So that is about understanding who you are, right? We are, if we believe that we are children of God, if we believe that we are love, then we need to be showing up in that way. So, who are you? What are your values? What are your strengths? What annoys you? It's important to know that we get socialized to be a certain way and we think that's who we are. But I saw a quote from Adam Grant recently, and he said, personality is not destiny. None of those things that we call
You say that
uh,
again.
personality is not destiny, right? We can be, we can change who we think we are if it's not in alignment with what it is that we want to do and be. It's all about intentionality. Are you in alignment with God's purpose for your life? And if you're not, what are you doing to get there? How are you showing up? That is going to, for instance, bring those people, draw the people that you are privileged to lead, because leadership is a privilege.
Mhm,
People allow you to lead them,
mhm.
right? You know, you and I grew up in the military. We came, we learned I always say everything I know about leadership, I learned in the military, but that's not 100% true, because I've learned a lot. I learned a lot before, and I've learned a lot since then. But I try to maintain that growth mindset, in that there's always more to know. I don't think we ever get to the full knowledge of who we are. There's always, I'm in my 60s and I'm still learning things about myself. So once you have that open mindset, you can learn more. But, getting back to that privilege to lead, people want to be led by somebody that they know and that they trust, and who they perceive is authentic, and who they also perceive likes them, right? John Maxwell, another favorite of mine, says that people don't know how much, or people don't care how much you know until they know how
You
much
can.
you care. And that speaks to relationship. So you have to know yourself so that you can show up in an authentic way. And I do believe that we can show up authentically. Um, so that you can show up in an authentic way, and then those people that you are privileged to lead can determine if they're in alignment with your leadership.
Now,
I would.
here's the thing that I want to dab down into even more: values.
Mm-hmm,
Values are
mm-hmm,
the rudder, values are the anchor, values are, in fact, the North Star of your self leadership.
absolutely.
But if you don't know your values, how do you discover your values?
Well, I've done the normal test where you have the list of things that speak to you, but what are the things that the people that you admire, what are their values? Sometimes we find ourselves attracted to and in alignment with people that have things that we admire, or that things that are reflected in who we are. So our values, to your point, should be leading us. But discovering, sitting down, being reflective. What is it that you really value? And prioritizing those values. If you say that family is a value, what does that look like? Right?
So on my portal, I lead. We
Hmm.
have a values
Hmm.
that you can take, where
Hmm.
you can determine your values and
Hmm.
determine what are your values. I think they're central. If I was in my home office right now, I
Hmm.
would have them right here. It's a little test that I have,
Hmm.
and one of my values is legacy.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so, for those of you who are watching right now, when you are trying to determine what to do or what not to do, one of the first questions that you should ask yourself: does it align itself with my values?
But you don't know that until you know what your values are.
Absolutely.
It's like vision. If you don't know what those things are, then anything, you know, can seem like it's a great idea. It's a great path to pursue. But once you know those values, so the first part is knowing. I have a sheet that I share with my clients. I ask them to, pick out 10 things, and then to kind of prioritize and put them in order, so they understand for themselves what is the most important things. What are the
If
most
I was
important?
trying to get, if I wanted to drill deeper with you, uh,
Mhm.
and you talk about your clients. How would someone reach out to you to be a part of that, to begin that whole process?
I'm all over social media. My website is leadershipunlock.com. There's a way to contact me that way. My email, and I can put this in the we can put this in the chat. Renita at Leadership Unlocked. So my company is Leadership Unlocked. Leadershipunlock.com again on my website. I'm on Instagram. I am on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook with Leadership Unlocked and my name. So Renita D. Alexander or Leadership Unlocked. You can find me. I'm easy to find. 310-427-26 is a way to get me directly, but you can get me in all of those ways if you're interested in working with me. I do have an ongoing program which is called Leadership Chromosome. It's my signature program. It is for individuals who are interested in coaching in a group format. And then I do have some upcoming things that I have something in October, which is around unlocking the barriers that are preventing you from doing what you want to do. And then at the beginning of next year in 2024, I do what's called a reset. It's a workshop that, once you've decided, hey, I'm going to do something different this year, it's a check in. It's like, how are you doing? Because often what happens is we have great ideas about what we want to do, but we don't clear out the things that are stopping us because we
So,
don't understand what those things are.
so now, okay, I have done. Let's follow this alliteration here. I've
Okay.
done the self work. I've done
Discovery.
the reflective work. I've done
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
in determining how to better lead myself. What
Hmm.
do I do next?
So then you come up with a plan, you design a plan because there has to be some development. If you know what it is that once you understand what it is that you want to be and do, how do you get there? So that's the development piece. And that is where coaching comes in. That is where training comes in. That is where the self study comes in. That is where the mentoring comes in. I mentioned coaching. So there's all kinds of ways that you can grow into the leader that you want to be. I was just having a conversation right before this with someone that I've been working with, the entrepreneur that is the leader of, I call him the empire builder. This is his space that I'm in now, the Moxie co-working space, Moxie Chicago. It's a Black-owned co-working space right on Michigan Avenue in downtown Chicago. And, one of the things that I was talking to him about, there's the business aspect of any kind of enterprise, but then there is also the leadership aspect of it, and that requires development. But before there's development, you have to develop a growth mindset. In other words, you have to believe that you can be what it is that you are called to be, what it is that you've identified. So you have to believe that with some effort that you can achieve that. I use with today's draft day, uh, I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan since he showed up at Alabama
That's
as a
money.
freshman. As a freshman. But what I always admired about him was his growth mindset. I don't
Hmm.
believe there's a ceiling for that young man because he believes in himself. He's a very, very faith oriented and he believes in what he's been called to do. But not only does he believe it, he's going to put the effort in to do it.
So
And
then
so
we talk about, and what comes to my mind is one of the things that I remember Coach saying. You got to have a plan.
got
You
to
don't
have a
have a
plan.
plan, you plan to fail. If you
Hmm.
shoot after nothing, you'll hit it every time.
Hmm.
Prior planning prevents, I won't say that word. It used to be another word that they would say, poor performance.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you got to have a plan. What's your plan? And I remember very well when my son-in-law was on the staff here.
Hmm.
Now they live in Schaumburg near you. He and my daughter, and he is now the director of Kids Across America, a kids camp in Missouri.
That's awesome.
So he says to me now, Bishop, I got from you this thing with sitting in all of our staff meetings. I remember you always saying, I would come up with this to do and that to do. And I would always say, what's your plan?
Hmm.
And he says, now I do that. And everybody knows that when they come to me about, let's do this, let's do that, the first thing out of his mouth is, what's your plan? If you
Hmm.
don't have a plan, you plan to fail.
Absolutely. And that
So
includes in your own self development.
I'm developing myself. I get to know who I am. I know my values. I determine my values. Then I come up with a plan. What's the next step for me?
So, values, I include in their strengths, understanding that discovery. I include strengths in that. I include personality. So, again, then you get to that development piece, right? Then you kind of you can get rid of things that aren't working for you. You can deconstruct or you can destroy some habits that you have maybe acquired or you've been socialized to believe about yourself. So you have to get rid of those things that then are going to allow you to actually execute on the plan that you have identified for yourself. So I use myself as an example. I grew up in the South. I was told that disagreement was disrespect. Now, imagine coming in, I'm the officer in the United States Air Force. I'm going to have to disagree with somebody sometimes. I have to come in with, an understanding that I'm in leadership. So I had to destroy that belief that I had that somehow if I was disagreeing with someone, that I was just disrespecting them. So we have to sometimes let go of the beliefs that we have been socialized to believe that aren't allowing us to move forward in what it is that we've been called to do.
One of the things I want to add to the conversation with respect to um, knowing yourself, evaluating yourself, having a plan, is that you have to be in tune also with your EQ.
Hmm. Hmm.
Your EQ is critical to your self leadership.
Absolutely.
For those of you who are not aware of the acronym, is emotional intelligence. And it has to do with not only knowing my emotions, but knowing the emotions of others and how my emotions impact them. But not just the one on one, the
Hmm.
interpersonal, but the intrapersonal, and that now I need to know the emotions of others in a group, if you will, in a relational situation in a group, their impact on me and my emotional impact on them. And what I have
Hmm.
found that what is lacking in millennials, if you will, Gen Xers, is EQ.
Hmm.
The EQ is very low in terms of because I can just let my emotions fly. And
Hmm.
therefore, you should be okay with my emotions flying because they are my emotions,
Hmm.
irrespective as to how they impact you.
Hmm. Emotions are valid. They tell us how we are processing, how we're interacting, how we're responding to something that we're experiencing. But to your point, are our emotions telling us to do something that's not in alignment with our values, with our strengths, with our intentions? So if we are intending to create a loving relationship, or a caring relationship, or a compassionate relationship with those that we are privileged to lead, allowing our emotions to get the better of us and responding in a way that's not loving. First of all, that's not the core of who we are. That's not authentic. That's been what we've been socialized, maybe what we've been seeing, maybe what we've been permitted. but we don't get to be all in our feelings. I just saw Diane Sheldon said, well, yes, that's a part of the responsibility of being a leader. And to your point, Bishop, the studies that have been around since the 1980s show that there's a much greater level of success for those leaders who have that emotional intelligence. So we've got to be able to, first of all, recognize that emotions are okay. And even for men, because I know a lot of men have been socialized to believe that they should not have emotions. We've socialized a lot of men to believe that the only thing they can show is anger, right? And so then we get surprised when they're angry, but we haven't permitted them to show other emotions. And then we've told women that they can, just be emotional and, act on those emotions. So emotions, again, I mean, they're valid. They are telling you something about how you're processing the world around you, but it doesn't mean you have to act on them. And that's where the emotional intelligence comes in, is understanding, but then also managing your emotions. And then also, you can't, but again, you can't recognize, it's just like leadership, you can't recognize emotions in other people until you've mastered your own. So that's where the emotional intelligence, that's a part of that discovery. That's a part of that discovery too, Bishop.
And I think part of what it is what we from the and I don't mean this in a throwing shade on a Oprah Winfrey or what have you. She's famous for helping people to then express their emotions, and Barbara Walters or whomever in their interviews, bringing people to their tears and so on and so forth. And therefore, all right, um, I should not then shy away from my emotions. And if you are asking me to do that, then somehow or another you're saying suppress them. No one is saying suppress your emotions. Be in touch with them
Absolutely.
and don't let them control you, because they can control you right out of a job.
They absolutely can.
you
They
know?
absolutely can. When people say, I'm just going to show up in my authentic self. Well, what does that really mean? You know, does it, is it in alignment with your intention for what it is you're trying to accomplish wherever you're showing up?
Yeah.
So
And show up in your authentic self could mean you can show up in your unemployed self.
exactly. But again, it goes back to what is authentically you. Is the angry you really you? Is that really you? You may be angry about something that happens, but then do you need to act on that? That's where the emotional intelligence comes in. That is where the intention comes in. That is where the alignment with what it is that you're feeling. Take a moment. Again, the feelings, okay, you're feeling something. It doesn't mean that you have to act on it. So feel it, process it, let it release itself from your body. We often hold emotions in our bodies. So when we feel something, we can feel it somewhere. We will feel it in our gut, which is our second brain, and doesn't have language, but it knows things that we often don't necessarily process intellectually. So yeah, you can be authentic when keeping it real goes wrong. I think, Jay, that was a segment on somebody's show. I don't know what comedian, but right. you know.
Yeah, when keeping it real goes wrong, we're almost getting to it in here, but when you talk about this, and I want to stay there for a moment.
Okay.
When you talk about keeping it real goes wrong, or to that your second brain that taps into Simon Sinek when he talks about knowing your why,
Hmm. Hmm.
and your why is located in a place in your brain that does not have communication skills. The
Sometimes.
communicative part of your brain is one area.
Hmm.
Knowing the why, the gut, is in another part of your brain that does not have communication, but you
Hmm.
feel it,
We feel it.
you sense it.
Mhm.
And so, therefore, as you will say, then when I'm doing that, how do I lead better? And if we use church language, we'll say, okay, that's the Holy Spirit
Mhm, mhm,
speaking to me.
mhm.
I don't want to go too deep, But the fact is, it may or may not be the Holy Spirit, because your conscience is not the Holy Spirit.
Mhm,
Your conscience is a development of your experiences and your upbringing, you
mhm.
know, what is right or what is wrong, and so on and so forth. But beyond that, how do I then begin to distinguish leading myself? There's a part of me that's talking, but I can't give it language, but I'm trying to get to a winning situation.
Mhm,
Help them with
mhm,
that.
mhm. That is where I believe the reflection comes in. That is where the destruction of the obstacles comes in. That is where we're paying attention to what happens when we step out on that feeling that we have about what it is, that vision, that why, what it is we are purposed to do. Because what I found is when I'm stepping out on that, things just flow. Things happen. I'm not saying it's always easy. I'm not saying I don't necessarily have to go get some additional skills. Maybe I have to go get another degree. Maybe I have to get a certification. But there's that reflection, there's that prayer, there's that meditation, whatever it is that allows you to go within yourself and then discover those things that are going to, give you the ideas that you need to step forward, and then following through with those things that have been given to you. You know, we are given ideas all the time, but I was having a conversation with a member of the Moxie Chicago community here, who has a phenomenal product. It's called GoGo V. It's a baby carrier, and the vision was given to her almost 20 years ago, and she's been plugging away on it. But she said, God gave me the vision. I thought he was going to give me the plan. And I said, well, what are you going to do? He got to do everything, right? So so he gives us those plans, those ideas, the personality, to execute on what's been given us. But then the part that we have to do is figuring out the steps, be discerning and reflective about what is from him and what is not. And the way I look at it, if it's propelling me forward, if it's about something bigger than me and other than me, then I feel like that is from God. So, what I've been doing pretty much my whole life, that I realized post retirement, is I have been teaching about leadership.
Wow.
I've been
Well,
doing that my whole life.
for those of you who have just joined with us, Renita Alexander is a retired Air Force full colonel. We served together. She was a part of the starting of our church. Now lives up in Chicago area. I stay in the southern part of Illinois, across the river from St. Louis. And I want to take a question or two from those who are watching. I want you, if you would, respond to Diane Shelton. She is that considered emotion that doesn't have the speech?
So that is that second brain. When both and I, Bishop and I, talked about that second brain, that gut, that you may have that feeling. The That's that, I think, knowing from your gut. It can be emotional. It can be something that's emotional, that doesn't actually have the language to express what it is that you're feeling, but something. Our body is wired. We feel afraid, and we can feel something in the back of our neck, the hairs on the back of our neck, or we feel the arm. We feel tingly in our arm. Those are all things that are telling our bodies something, and we have to translate that. So we have to translate that in a way that we can understand it, and then act on it, or not act on it. So, yeah, it is kind of emotion. It is, again, maybe our bodies reacting to the environment they find themselves in. because we have so many ways of knowing things. I mean, these magnificent vessels, right? Oh my God, created. We're not the creator, but we get the benefit of these magnificent vessels that house our spirit, our soul, and we have to take care of them, and we have to pay attention to them.
You pay attention to them. I think one of the things that helps too when you're trying to navigate your emotions and you can't put language to it is to journal it or to reflect on what is your body doing in the moment.
Mhm,
Is your heart rate up? Are your palms sweaty? Are your shoulders getting tense? Is your stomach turning?
mhm,
Are you feeling relaxed? Is there something? These are things that help you connect with what emotion am I in this moment. Same thing if it's a sensual emotion. What is happening with me right now? How is that? We tend to think of that in the sensual way because we can attach those things to something physical that is about to happen to us.
mhm,
Um, but the same thing happens in if I'm at work,
mhm,
if I'm on the bus, if I'm on the train, if I'm in the elevator with someone I don't know, pay attention, and that will help you better know how to lead. There's a thing I do, and then we're gonna give you an opportunity to plug what you do, and I'll plug what I do so others can do more because we're almost at the end. There's something I do all the time when I'm in meetings. And when I'm in meetings, when it's a big meeting and I'm really feeling like, wow, I don't, man, this is really huge. It's huge with what I'm doing. It's huge with who I'm interacting in. And quite honestly, I feel a little overwhelmed in the boardroom full of whomever. I have this little book. Here's my little portfolio that I carry in meetings typically. In it, I have a scripture. I don't think you can see it with the thing. I pull it out. Nobody knows what I'm doing. When I feel myself getting overwhelmed or the meeting is not going the way I want it to go,
mhm,
I pull this out and I read it to myself.
mhm.
Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. So we say with confidence, the Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can man do to me?
And there you go.
That's what I do. So
Mhm,
I get a hold of myself
mhm,
because I'm leading in this moment, or
mhm,
I'm trying to lead,
mhm,
and so I begin to lead myself. And when
mhm,
I sense that, as Diane says, well, this emotion is happening. When I sense that it's happening with me,
mhm,
no one knows what I'm doing. Now they know.
mhm,
I
mhm,
pull this little piece of paper out and I
mhm.
read it to myself.
That grounding and centering so that you then can operate and engage from an authentic, grounded space. That's crucial. I start workshops that way with
Mm.
just, an opportunity to ground and center, just to discover where we are. And that's for everybody in the room, not just me,
So
because
when you say start out workshops,
Mhm,
give those who are watching self-talk is a good answer for that. Yeah, you're right, Diane.
mhm,
Give those who are watching right now an opportunity to connect with you
mhm.
and what you do.
Absolutely. I'm Renita Alexander, the Leadership Locksmith. My company is called Leadership Unlocked. It is a full service leadership development and training company. I coach leaders and aspiring and emerging leaders who want to be their best version of their most authentic version of leadership. I help them find what that is. And so I do that through a couple of ways, through mostly group coaching. I also coached existing teams. I work with teams that are existing. I do my own workshops. I have one. I don't really have anything planned for the summer because I'm actually really excited about an opportunity I have to work with a Veterans Administration vendor. So as I, try to reach one of my goals, which is to be a contractor, but I'll be doing that this summer. But in the fall, I will be doing my signature workshop. It's called Unblock Your Barriers. It's an opportunity for people to discover what may be blocking them from what it is they're supposed to do. It's again about that discovery that we've been talking about. So, what are the beliefs? What are they calling reality that's not real? What are the things that could be stopping them from fulfilling God's purpose for their lives? I do that. And then at the beginning of next year, I did one this year. I'm going to do it again at the beginning of 2024, late January, February timeframe. And that's called Reset. So it's for those people who started out really great at the beginning of the year with all these New Year's resolutions and they've lost steam. It's an opportunity just to look at what may have got you off track, what may have derailed your resolutions for yourself. So leadershipunlock.com is my website. I think Dagny put that in the chat. My direct email is Renita at Leadership Unlocked, and I'm all over social media. I'm on Facebook, I am on LinkedIn, and I'm on IG. So you can find me in any of those spots, Leadership Unlocked or Renita D. Alexander.
So for those who are watching too, you can know that, okay, here we go. Let me get this on here right. There we go. There we go. iLeadAcademy.net. If you want to develop yourself even more and self-leadership and how to do that, there it is for you right there. And then I believe, and next time that we meet, we're going to have Renee, we're going to have your book on here as well. Uh,
Absolutely.
I have several books that you can get as well. Same thing, iLeadAcademy.net. You can get those books right there. And I just really want to thank you, Renita, for just being a part. We're going to do this again. I always say this in my morning manner: if this bless you, bless somebody else. Don't be greedy. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it. In fact, share it right now. Thank you, Renita. Thank you so
You.
much. We're going to do this. For those of you who are watching, we'll be doing this again in about a month, just to bring more information to you. We won't deal so much maybe with self-leadership. We'll deal with another aspect of leadership to help you better lead, push you across the finish line to be the successful you that you're trying to do and be, and all that you're trying to accomplish for his kingdom. God bless you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye now.